Jay's going to talk to us about the rest of the information that where we left off about being an owner operator, things that you need to know. Jay, where do you want to pick up?
What we're going to pick up from is we touched the why you want to, the basics of your business plan, spec-in your truck, etc. Going to pick up, and I think this is a really important part that owner operators really need to understand. When you're going to go and sign on and lease to a company, before you go and sign that paperwork, ask them for a copy of the contract. Take it home and read it. And then if you're not fully happy, pay for a lawyer to read it. There's a lot of clauses they put in these contracts. You know, I know one driver at the moment that's struggling to get his ownership for his truck.
Mm-hmm.
Being given the runaround. I mean, the last thing you want is, there's a hidden clause in there that says you have to stay with the company 4 years. You have to have a truck that's newer than such and such. You know, you need to make sure you know that exactly what you're going into. You don't want to go somewhere and after 12 months you're not happy and you can't leave.
Here's a point. When I was an owner operator, I was a lease operator, and they had a clause in the contract that stated I couldn't run over 11,000 miles a month. Well, as drivers, we want to run miles.
Well, damn right.
The more miles we run, the more money we make. There was a clause in there that every mile over 11,000 miles, I had to pay a penalty.
You penalized for being productive.
That's insane. I was penalized for being productive. Yes.
That's insane.
You have to pay to come to work.
Oh man. Why? What was the idea behind that? Why did they want to cap your miles?
No clue. All I know is when I turned the truck in, they said, well, you went over your 11,000 miles a month. You had the truck this many months. This was the amount of miles based on the 11,000 miles a month that you were allotted. This is how many you actually ran. So you went over this many miles and you owe us this much per mile that you went over. And I'm like,
yeah. So that's making Jay's point about it, having an attorney look over the contract.
Precisely.
Really look over that contract, make sure that you know what you're going into. The last thing you want is, 12, 18, 24 months or wherever far into it you are, and you're not happy with being there. And then they tell you, you signed a 5-year lease to stay with us as a lease driver. I mean, that's how these companies kind of trap you in a way. That's the best way to describe it. If you don't understand that lease properly, some of the leases say your truck has to go to a dealer to be serviced, to have any repair work on it. You're not allowed to take it to an independent garage. It must go back to a certified dealer. I mean, you need to understand all these things because that's going to cost you money. Understanding the lease, how you're being paid, frequency of pay, any pitfalls are really important. If it doesn't suit what you want, then you shouldn't sign with that company. Next after that, medical benefits and loss of income insurance. There are few companies. I've done research. So the Trucker's Edge is actually a Canada only program. I spoke to them and they explained to me as owner operators or company drivers, Canada only. Okay, so if you're a Canadian driver, I have no problem pointing you in that direction. If you're Canadian or a Canadian driver or owner operator, I can help you there. In the US, there's a couple of companies. There's Primerica. Now, by Primerica, you have to contact the agent that's in your state. Every state, as you know, has different rules, regulations, etc. So contacting your agent that's local to you is the best thing to do. Some great plans. They will point you in the right direction. There was a company I come across, or a company on the internet called Smart and Simple. Another one that offers benefits, etc. And Secure Globe was another one. So smartandsimple.com and secureglobe.com.
Nice.
You need to make sure you know, you like you said, Toby, you had medical bill. You couldn't afford to go to the doctor. You couldn't afford to take time off, and that's what you got to do. You got to protect yourself. You know, especially with the loss of income. You know, them bills mount up pretty quick.
Oh yeah.
And so,
Oh
and
yeah.
so do medical bills in the US. I mean, I had $5 million worth of coverage. And everybody used to laugh at me, and I went, "You can laugh all you want. I'm just making sure that I'm covered."
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. I mean, if, for example, I couldn't afford to go to the doctor, and I wound up eventually getting to a doctor 6 or 8 months after I developed problems and wound up getting diagnosed with lung cancer. Now it was a misdiagnosis, thank God. My point is, I couldn't afford to go to the doctor because I couldn't take the time off. So all of that might have been able to be headed off much earlier if I'd have just been able to go to the doctor, because I'd have known the information that you're passing out right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there is, you know, you have one policy with, you know, dental health and vision, and you know all that sort of stuff, and then the other one that's really important is your loss of income. If you're unable to work, I mean, you might pay a little bit more for it being 30 days as opposed to 60, but you know what? You have an income coming in. You can cover your payments for your truck.
Yep.
And everything else. I mean, you need to make sure you protect yourself. Next thing you know, you're behind the eight ball, and you're never going to catch up.
And there are so many things that can go wrong in this job where you just all of a sudden you're hurt. You know, it doesn't have to be, you know, like Toby had a cancer scare. It doesn't have to be anything like that. Like when I was driving double 48s, I screwed my back up pretty bad pushing the bogey around, you know, and that just happened like that. You know, there 1 minute I'm fine, next thing you know, I'm laid out on the ground. Um, you know, and everybody thinks, a lot of guys think, you know, especially when you're young, that you're invulnerable. You know, you're still Superman. You're not going to get hurt. You know, oh, I'm strong, I'm young, you know, and next thing you know, you're laying in a puddle on the ground going, okay, I hope somebody comes pick me up.
Yeah.
You know, but you don't think about that. So that's, you know, that's having that kind of forethought, having that kind of forward thinking to keep yourself covered in case of the unexpected. And now that's
Oh yeah.
good.
Next one on the list from that, there's a company called Legal Shield. They're actually out of Detroit, and they have a branch here in Canada. Great company. I joined that. I got referred to that through my friend that I met at the party there that works for Primerica. I pay $29.95 a month. I have access to legal people. Picking up a phone. You know, if I was going to go and lease onto a company and I'm not sure about this contract, do you know what? I get free consultation. Pick the phone up.
Mm-hmm.
I have, you know, a traffic violation, an accident. You are getting top quality lawyers of the field that will help you.
Mm-hmm.
And also as a bonus, they will do your will free of charge.
Minnesota, there's a guy named Paul Taylor. I've known Paul Taylor for probably 10, 15 years. He is the head of an organization called the Truckers Justice Center. And they handle all kinds of legal stuff for drivers as well. So just a shout out to Paul Taylor and the Truckers Justice Center.
Cool.
But not a lot of people know that this exists. I mean, it's a small monthly payment, but it gives you access to a lot of help, especially when it comes down to a lawyer going over a lease contract or a contract with a company for you.
Well, there's another organization out there called TVC that does something similar. I don't know what the similarities are, but I know that they provide legal services for drivers too. You'll see their signs and truck stops all over.
No, that's a good idea. That's a really good idea. My dad had a couple of businesses, and he used a service similar to that for looking over contracts, et cetera. You know, it's just a good idea if you're in any kind of business to have something like that, able to, you know, right at the tip of your fingers, be able to call up and get some advice. No, that's good.
Here's another important. How are you going to pay yourself? And there are many ways of doing this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to start off with, you know, I paid myself as an employee and gave the government payroll deductions every month. And then I figured out, well, do you know what? Why should I be doing that when I can pay myself a nice per diem and I don't pay nothing?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I paid myself, was a per diem. And then at the end of the year, if there was profit, I would give myself a small one-off payment. You know, because dealing with payroll taxes and deductions, it's another thing that you need your accountant to be doing for you, because they're good at doing it. It's easy for them. You know, I know it's only takes an hour or so, but you're driving.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't file on time, they fine you.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's an important thing. How you're going to pay yourself. Other thing is, does your wife work? You want to pay her some, you know, does your spouse work or your partner? You want to pay them a small wage for doing the bookkeeping. You got to figure out how you can make the system work for you and be beneficial for you,
Mm-hmm.
without giving the government all the money.
You know, the per diem idea, that's really good. I've worked for companies where we had per diems, and they were handy. That was money, free money in your pocket kind of thing.
Well, what happened with me, Jimmy and
Mm-hmm.
Toby, was the my you call it state tax, we call it GST, HST.
Hmm.
Okay, the CRA kept oh well, you need to do this, you need to do that. Oh, you didn't register this. They still owe me just short of $30,000.
Wow.
Okay, I got so upset that I asked my accountant, how do I pay myself without giving them any more money from payroll deductions? I used to take $150 a day for every day I worked,
Mm-hmm.
tax free, and I done that.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'd send me a letter saying, "You're not paying no payroll deductions." I don't pay myself no more.
There you go.
It's sad you've got to go to that route, you know, to that route.
Mm-hmm.
No, but it's smart, really. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
because like the per diem right now, I think for in the industry is like $69 a day. You know, so but I mean, still, that's actually kind of brilliant.
What my accountant done was she found out what state officials get.
Hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and because I was the owner of the company, I'm entitled to the same as them.
Mm-hmm.
So they were allowed $200 a day if they're away from home. So I put mine at 150.
Mm-hmm.
Work 6 days a week, 7 some weeks. That's $950 a week, and
Yep.
that's how I paid myself. And like, it's not illegal; it's just smart.
Yeah, and you're not giving all that extra money away to the government doing it that way. That stays in your account. That's really smart. Toby, we should be making note of this.
Filed it away in
Yeah,
my
financial
I already
advisor.
did that. It's
Yep.
already up here.
Yep, good.
I'll be your finance guy. It's okay.
There you go.
So, I mean, that's an important thing. You know, finding the best way to pay yourself that you're not losing a lot of what you're earning for.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you are going to pay some taxes. That's sort of, you know, but at the end of the year, you know, did the company make, say the company made $50,000? What's the best way for me to give myself that money but not pay it all in taxes? Oh, I know what. A retirement plan. You know, but you put money in, you know, you put yourself some money into a retirement plan,
Mm-hmm.
and then on top of that, the government give you money back because you put money, you know, on your tax return, you get money back.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you've got to think smart. How
Yeah.
do I keep as much of this money that I'm earning for myself?
Mm-hmm.
And another thing that new drivers, new owner operators, lease operators need to keep in mind, they need to know what it costs to run that truck every mile.
Yep,
They need to
every
know
mile,
how
or they
much
need,
it costs to run that truck.
like I said, Toby, know your monthly break-even point. Okay, you do a good load, and then you park for 3 or 4 days, but that 3 or 4 days still cost you. You know, you had this good paying load, and you made, I don't know, $2.75 per mile. But then you had 3 days off. Well, you've got to account for that 3 day. You know, your truck cost you money for them 3 days.
Yeah, so every minute, every day that truck's parked is eating into that really good 275 a mile that you got, because you're no
Exactly.
longer generating revenue, but you've still got fixed expenses that are ticking away on a moment by moment basis. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
Bookkeeping system. There's plenty out there. The best thing I can advise you is sit down and talk with your accountant, find out what system they use, because it's easy then. You put in your basics, which is what I used to do. So if I bought stuff on the road, I had my laptop with me and I would just put everything in. And then at the end of the month, I would plug a flash drive in and I would download everything and I would give it to my accountant. And then she would go over and double check everything. Because if you ask them to do everything for you, you're just going to take a box and drop it on the table and they have to go through everything. It's a lot of, when they're charging 100, $50 to $100 an hour, that's a lot of money to be shelling out. I always, at the end of the day, I would open up my laptop. I bought fuel. Maybe I bought some couple of spare lights, or I had a tire go. I would just plug it straight in. At the end of the month, I would download it onto a flash drive. I would give it to my accountant. QuickBooks is one of them. I'm trying to think. There's a number of programs out there, but the easiest thing is find out what your accountant uses and is really familiar with, because she will be able to help you set that up so that it makes it so much more easier for you.
Yeah, if you're using the same system, then all the files that you're going to send are formatted in the same manner that the accountant is going to use, and then she can just drop that information in. And again, like you said, they're doing things on an hourly basis. That's working smarter, not giving them, they're doing a great job, but reduce how much they've got to do for you is going to reduce how much you actually have to pay out to the to your accountant. Yeah. No, just work smart. That's the thing.
Next thing after that is, filing your company, wage deduction, taxes, all your company filings is, make that as simple as possible so that get your accountant to do it for you. It's so much, they're so quick at doing it. It's easier than you trying to fight your way through a minefield on the government sites, because they try to make it hard.
Yeah, if the harder they make it, the more people don't file correctly, the more taxes get needlessly taken out of you, extra fees, etc. Yep, that's true.
I've used the same person since I came to Canada all the time, and she's a great woman. Her specialty is the trucker field. It's a company called Truckers Income Tax Services in Cambridge, Ontario.
This is good. All right, what you got next there, Jason?
Finding a good local repair shop. I was very lucky. I had one at home here in my town, and on the road in Manitoba, I found another guy, and two great guys. They were the sort of people that when they said to you, Jay, this is broke or this needs to replace, they weren't just saying it so that they can make money. Because, it's like you go to one shop, they'll tell you it's this. Go to another shop, they'll tell you it's something completely different. And, those repair bills add up very, very quickly.
Yeah, I can't imagine how expensive truck repair bills are getting. Like the hourly rate for local car mechanics are in low end at 3 digits now per hour. That's just ridiculous. So I can't imagine what heavy duty mechanics are costing.
The last repair I had done on the car hauler, C15 cat, the exhaust manifolds had started to blow. You can see the black. We stripped everything down. So while it was stripped down, and here's another point that I'm going to point out, making good decisions when you're doing repairs. You're having a mechanic strip something down, and there's something that looks like it's going to need replacing in a month, 2 months, or 3 months' time.
Do it now.
Buy that part and do it then. Okay, it may suck because it's an extra $500 you didn't budget for. But understand, they've got it apart. because they're going to have to strip the engine apart again to do it.
Mm-hmm.
It
That's
cost
going to
me- I-
cost you extra.
I spent $14,000 by the time I was finished.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But it was done, and it was done well. Yep.
Yeah, it was. I mean, the guy here always used to say to me, he goes, Jay, he goes, you know, your attitude is if it's broke, replace it. Well, yeah, because, or you know, if it's badly worn and it looks like it's going to need replacing, replace it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, when I bought the truck the first year, I dropped the diff oils straight out, and I put synthetic oil in the rear ends. I've done the same with the transmission. Drop the transmission oil out straight away again, synthetic.
Mm-hmm.
I dropped the coolant out, and while he had the coolant out, I said to him, take the hoses off and replace the hoses.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
you keep on top of it. You look after your truck's going to look after you.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. And doing those, like replacing the hoses at that point, is in perspective to the rest of the repair costs that you're
Nothing.
It's nothing. Yeah. And it's going
It's an extra half hour's labor for them to undo the hoses, take
Yeah.
them off.
Yep.
You've already drained the system.
Yep. Yep.
One of the things that I did, and a lot of companies do this, when they have a maintenance account. So you take like a dime per mile and you put into a maintenance account. So that way it builds up over time.
Mhm.
And, you know, you have some money put away for oil change or, you know, PMs and stuff like that, you know, just basic stuff. But that does add up pretty quick. So you're not having always to come out of pocket with as much money.
Well, that's in your business plan as well. You know, every week
Right.
you should be taking X amount of money out and putting aside one for basic maintenance, and then another part for, you know, unexpected breakdowns.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that you've got that buffer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, here's another way people waste money. You blow a tire, okay? I've seen many guys put one on. I put a pair on and I take the good one home with me.
Yep.
You put that new, because what happens is you put that new tire on with that worn one. That new tire is going to take all the brunt and it's going to be destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Because it's not the same height as the
Yeah.
used
Nope.
tire. Yeah, exactly. And a point real quick, Toby, about like that program that you were talking about where they're taking 10 cents a mile. You know, I assume they're taking it as a deduction out of
Yeah.
your settlement. So think about that. All the drivers participating in that program are taking 10 cents a mile that the company is then taking out and putting in an account for you to use later. And they are going to sit there and draw interest on that. That's going to go into a bank account. That's a lot of drivers. That's a lot of money adding up quick every day for that company. Then they draw it out and it sits there and earns interest for them, not you.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's right.
So they're making money off of your money when you could be making that money, that same interest rate, by taking that and throwing it into a savings account. You know, it accomplishes the same thing. You've got money tucked away and you're the one making the interest on it.
True.
Mhm.
That's very true.
Jay, I like what you're saying about, and I totally agree with the idea of replacing the extra tire. And if you're budgeting your money correctly, as in putting it away,
You
putting
can afford to do it.
yeah, and do it religiously. In every mile I go, I'm budgeting this much money out for repairs. Now the little courier that I drive for right now, there's a bunch of guys, young kids that you know, they're driving, you know, young kids, they're 22 to 26 years old, and they're using their personal vehicles, and the company pays the standard rate. It's like 60, reimburses their expenses at 63 cents a mile.
Okay.
And one of the young men does a really good job about taking that extra reimbursement check and putting it aside. You know, he's making his hourly wage, plus they make the mileage reimbursement, and they come in two checks. The one guy takes that reimbursement money and sticks it in a savings account and replaces his tires, gets his brakes done, gets regular maintenance done. And a couple of the other people consider that as an extra paycheck. You know,
No,
you know,
that's maintenance money.
That's maintenance money. They're paying you 63 cents a mile for the wear and tear that they're putting on your car, not so you can go get another tattoo. So the guys are all of a sudden the one guy uh had a fairly major thing go wrong with his car. Um and gee, didn't have the money to get it fixed.
Yeah.
It's
Oops.
like, what'd you do with all that money? What did you do with all that money that you got? And he's treating it as extra pay. And that's not what it's for. That's not what it's for. But yeah, carry on, Jay.
If you budget properly, you can afford it. And then there's another thing that I done. I bought myself, and people don't do this no more, a tire tread cutter,
Ah,
a regroover. And what
mhm,
I would do is I would bring the tires out. I would etch them out another 3 or 4 millimeters, which don't sound a lot, but that's a lot of
mhm,
wear.
mhm.
And then I take one with me on the road as a spare, but I would run them out on the trailer.
Yep.
You've got to make that. You've got to make your equipment work for you. You know, a lot of guys. Oh, I'll put 8 new tires on. There's 6 that are fairly good.
Mhm.
That tire company is laughing. They'll take them and they'll do exactly the same, and they'll sell them as a used tire to somebody when they come in at $150, $200 a time.
Mhm. That you could be using yourself with a
Yeah,
minimal amount of effort and expense. You've got
no,
extra tires. Yep.
yeah, just make it work for you.
What you got
Okay,
next for us, Jason?
doing your weekly maintenance, keeping up on top of your truck. Go around, check your lights. If there's any little wiring problems, do them. Greasing, all your basic maintenance. Like I say, look after your truck will look after you. Here's a story. 2003, I'd not long passed. I'd passed my CDL. I'm on my way to Atlanta, and I stop at the Flying J at Resaca. I'm there for the weekend. I get out, I get my grease gun, my little toolkit, and I'm working away on the truck. And there's 4 old veteran drivers, and they're chuckling at me in a way because I'm working on my truck.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat down and had coffee with them, and they were like, oh, you're a different breed. And I'm like, I was always told, look after your truck, it'll look after you. And you get to understand how your truck, parts, how they work, what to look for.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll become more confident at doing things. And once again, you're going to save money. You can't just keep taking that truck and taking it to a repair shop.
No, that
You
gets
know,
really expensive really quick. And I think, from my personal experience making the shift from cab overs to conventionals, it was way easier with a conventional to just pop that hood open, and get in there and climb up on the tires and really inspect stuff really well, look for leaks, etc., instead of having to jack that cab up, having to clear out everything in the bunk and jack that thing up and then climb up underneath there. Now that doing what you're talking about, I think is a lot easier for drivers now because just about, well, everybody's got conventionals pretty much.
I'd like to drive a cab over again, though. I don't know what it
Yeah.
is. I see some
Yeah.
real cool ones running down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would too. I would love to drive an old cab over. They were fun. But yeah, but back to the maintenance. That's a really good point.
Yeah. The other thing is, prepping your truck with spare. It sounds stupid with some spares. Toolbox. You know, I always used to carry a couple of fuel filters because I tell you, you pick up some crappy fuel, that filter is going to clog.
Mm-hmm.
Or we get really cold temperatures, you know, and especially if you're a northern driver and then you go south, they do not have winterized diesel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So carry some diesel conditioner with you.
Mm-hmm.
Carry some radiate, a spare rad hose. Even the pipe that goes to your the hose that would go to your heater matrix. I've had them split and go. And I've got out and taken them apart, put it back, put a new piece in, or I've had a joiner, didn't have a piece of pipe, and I've got myself on the way. Making sure you got a couple of jugs of coolant, some oil, windshield wash, spare lights. If you're smart, you can get yourself an account somewhere, and you're buying stuff at a reduced rate and not paying. You know, you go in the truck store and look at some of the prices for this stuff.
Yeah,
it's crazy. So you know, making sure you have some spares with you that you know you have a small issue, you're going to get yourself by. And here's another thing to carry with you. I know a lot of trucks are disc brake now, but I always used to carry, like mine wasn't. Mine were the pods.
Yep.
I had 3 or 4 Cajun bolts with me. I had no problem. I had no problem if I had a brake chamber go. Put that Cajun bolt in, wind it up, get myself somewhere safe.
Yep.
I even carried a spare brake chamber with me, 2 in actual fact.
I always carried, you know, the caging bolts, carried those, and I carried a good supply of just regular bolts and a bunch of hose clamps. So if I had, you know, if you got an airline that's ruptured, you know, cage that brake and pop that, you know, close that line off, tighten it down so it's not going to leak, and get on down the road. You know, I carry all kinds of little things, little tools, little parts, airline ferrules, airline coupling. Always had a toolbox full of that stuff.
You know, it's just simple stuff that, you know, will save you $300 or $400 call out. You know, you can get yourself into a shop or somewhere where, you know what, I can actually now look at the problem and, hey, I can sort this out myself and get back down the road.
Well, most of the companies I've worked at, I've gone in and made sure I'm really good friends with the head mechanic. buy that guy some dinner once in a while. But I went to work for a farm, and the mechanic was talking to me about this. I said, I'm not going to call you for you know, if I've got a problem out on the road. If I have to call you, something's really broken, because I can always get my truck 9 times out of 10, limp that thing someplace. You know, not going to do roadside repairs, not going to call that guy out. He's got enough other stuff to do. And like calling, you know, like getting a hold of a truck stop and having their road service people come out. Holy cow, is that expensive? And especially if you've got a $5 part that you could have had in your toolbox and it shut you down on the side of the road. So now you've got the repair plus $600 to have some guy come out and change an airline.
Plus the wait time, because you know they're going to tell you it's going to be 30 minutes, and 4 hours later or 5 hours later they're showing up, and you're going, "Do you run on Cuban time?"
Yeah, and now these days with the e-log, you're sitting on the side of the road and you can't move. You know, what if you've run your clock down and you're not going to get to a truck stop? You're going to miss your delivery. What a nightmare! Just because you didn't have, you know, some of these maintenance skills that Jay's talking about. But enough of us, Jay. Carry on, please.
Okay, now obviously, if you're going to lease to a company, you're going to use their fuel card or their fuel account, and if not, you know, I had my own fuel account. So how it worked with me was everything I bought up to on midnight from Sunday morning to midnight Saturday, the invoice come in on the Monday and the money went out on the Wednesday. But it was good. I got a good discount. And planning your trip, you know, whether you're paying for your fuel yourself or whether you're using the company account, look at where you're going. Go on to the websites, map out the fuel prices. You know, saving 10, 15, 20 cents a gallon, it adds up at the end of the week. You know, puts a lot on your bottom line.
One thing I can add to that is if you lease onto a company and they issue you a fuel card, use their fuel stops. because they
Exactly.
tend to get a better discount than like if you like, for example, if you sign under a company and their fuel stops are TA and Petro primarily, but you like Pilot, you're going to pay more at the Pilot unless you have a fuel account with Pilot. Well, if you've got their company fuel card, you can't do that. So, fuel at their fuel stops because you're going to get their company discount, which
And that
helps
adds
your
up.
bottom line.
It adds up a lot, Toby.
Yep.
It does.
It does.
And parts account, go to one of the local truck suppliers and see if you can get yourself a parts account so that, you're getting a small discount, even if it's only 10, 15%. It's 10 or 15% you're saving. We got a company called Princess Auto, and they opened a new shop and closed the old one. Instead of moving everything, they had a fire sale, was the best way to describe it. I went in there and bought lights, electrical. Like, I spent $500 there, and if I'd have paid full price, it would have been nearly $1,500. I just went in and cleaned. I had 2 cars when I left. Because electrical pigtail ends. Always good to have one of them, I tell you.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Definitely.
Another thing that's good is the pigtail tester. I have one of them because numerous times, you plug into a trailer and something's not working. Well, is it the truck or is it the trailer? With the pigtail tester, at least you can then plug it to the truck and eliminate that part instead of chasing your tail around trying to figure, these things, cost $50, but $50 well spent because, you just saved yourself a bunch of time. But, fuel account, parts account, tire account, I would go to Toronto to get all my tires. When I was, when I was up there loading, if I wanted tires, I go to the main distributor because I was buying it direct from the distributor and not from the tire shop who tacked another 20% on.
Yep.
It's a lot of money to save.
Yep. And any place in this business, any way you can save a little money on expenses, do it. Like, sometimes like what you're talking about, paying $500 for all those parts, think, well, that's $500 right now. But, you said you got $1,500 worth of parts. So, you saved yourself $1,000 by spending that $500 right then, thinking ahead, forward thinking on this stuff.
That's just the immediate savings too, because that's not including service calls, downtime. Yep. I mean, he just saved himself $1,000 on the parts, just the parts. We're not talking about, that's not including the service time on the side of the road, the service call amount, the downtime, service failures. I mean, he saved himself a lot more than $1,000 overall, anyway.
Absolutely.
All right, Jason.
Okay. Your trailer, are you going to buy or lease a trailer, or are you going to use a company trailer? And normally when you're using a company trailer, there's another small percentage they take away from the rate because you're using their equipment. It's something.
Can I point out something really quick, Jason?
Yep.
This is company equipment. So if you lease onto a company and they put an OBCS in your truck, they will charge you. Yep. I wanted to point that out just in case, we didn't get to it. I wanted to point that out. They will charge you for using their equipment.
Oh, they charge you to fit it. They charge you the monthly fee, and they charge you to take it out when you quit.
Yep. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I thought about that when you said company equipment for the trailer.
No, that's
a lot of drivers don't know that.
You need to think about all that. I mean, and if you're using a company trailer, they normally take another, I don't know, 2, 3, maybe 5% because now you're pulling their trailer. They want to make sure that they got money to maintain it and they're making money. So it's another thing because once again, it's another outlay of money. Does it
Mhm.
pay to own your own trailer? Because now you've got additional maintenance costs.
Mhm.
Well,
Mhm.
gotta
Yeah,
buy
and you have
tarps,
to
tires.
take a look at what the company is charging you to pull their trailer and
Versus
run
owning
the
your own.
calculations to see, am I going to be better off with doing my own maintenance, or better off doing my own maintenance on my own trailer, or am I going to make better money just not worrying about it and pulling their wagons? Especially, I think it would also depend on, if I'm leased onto a certain company and they do a lot of drop and hook, a lot of preloaded trailers, how much time am I going to lose by having my own trailer
Yep.
and having to sit around and wait, not being able to take advantage of a preload system?
Yep.
Is that small percentage for pulling their wagons? Is that going to, how's my downtime while I'm loading? What's that going to do to my bottom line as well? So a lot of times that small percentage is actually something that I'd be willing to pay just to be able to keep moving.
Yep. But
Yep.
you know as well as I do, there's a lot of drivers, they'll drop a trailer, they won't even look around it. And, you're the next driver, and unfortunately, blown tire, or the tread's ripped off, or the lights don't work. It's when you have your own truck, when you got your own equipment, you're on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's everything about your maintenance, doing proper pre-trips and post-trips. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you don't just wake up in the morning, pull the curtains back, and when I've seen some guys do it, they look out the window, I'm good to go. Here we go.
Yep.
We're gonna go rolling down the road.
Mm-hmm. 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 Now, what's your next point there, Jay?
Okay, well, we covered nearly everything. The last point I'm going to cover,
Mm-hmm.
and this is an important one. And like I say, I know my opinion. These are my opinions. Some people may disagree with me,
Hmm.
and that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. I'm just trying to pass my knowledge on of 30 plus years here.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a really important subject, and it's the last one. It's called knowing when to call it quits and get out.
Mm-hmm.
The minute the minute you start not paying yourself or taking money from your personal bank account in the hope that things are going to get better,
Hmm.
you need to take that truck, sell it, and get out.
Mm-hmm.
People will disagree with me with that because it could get better. It's going to pick up.
Probably
You
not.
are putting yourself behind the eight ball. You're not paying yourself. You're using your own money, or one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
You need, and like I said, it's exactly why I sold my truck. People were running around doing cars for freight rates.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I sat at the truck stop the other day in LaPorte, Texas, the Love's truck stop, waiting for the trailer to be loaded. I counted 10 hot shots coming. And here's
Mm-hmm.
something that I noticed with the hot shots. Most of them don't even have any US DOT number or anything written on the side. Or if it did, it was in that magic marker where you couldn't even read it because it's probably not theirs.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So when you're trying to compete against people that will do the work for less than you, and you start seeing your profit margins going down and going down, and you've experienced this, Jimmy, with
I have.
steel truck,
I have. Mm-hmm.
and you need to understand that maybe I'm better off just saying I'm calling it a day and be a company driver. Go and find a good company job.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got good experience and you're good at your job,
You should never be hungry.
no,
Nope.
I
Friend of mine
ran
said,
30, I
yeah,
ran 3,660 miles this week
yeah, yeah. That friend of mine said that, if you've got a CDL and you're unemployed, it's because you want to be unemployed.
because you're
Yep.
lazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, what you were saying though about getting out, just for, I don't remember the exact numbers, but just for round numbers, um, hauling the scrap steel that I did when I had my own truck, we were paid not by the mile, but we were paid by the hundredweight. And the rate for when we got into it, scrap steel well, let's say was paying 85 to 85 cents to a dollar per hundredweight, roughly. And
Yep.
when we bailed out, it was down to 19 cents per
Yeah, that's a
hundredweight.
huge,
Good
that's a
Lord.
Huge.
80% loss of income.
Yeah. Yeah. And we held on and we held on in the hopes that there was always these economic predictions that the price of scrap steel was going to tomorrow the price of scrap steel is going to come up. Tomorrow. We just bailed out before we lost everything. We should have done it 6 months before we did, but we just held on thinking it was going to be all right, and just eventually had to just let it all go.
I mean, it's shocking how many drivers are out there that are leased on, or owner operators, or have their own authority. And I don't think it's so much the ones that have their own authority. It's the guys that have been talked into. You can make a lot of money. Come and lease on with us.
Mm-hmm.
They
See
don't
it every day.
realize they don't realize that they're losing money.
Mm-hmm.
They seem to think that, oh, it's okay. Oh, that was a good paying load. And then they're not keeping a close eye on it. And the next thing is, you're broke.
Yeah. Yeah. And just out of the blue a lot of times because you're not paying attention to the accounts. You think you've got money in the bank, and then expense comes and all so many ways for it to go bad.
But like I
Mm-hmm.
say, I know some people are gonna look at the episodes I've done and not agree with my opinions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but the risk versus the reward and the liabilities. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
You drive down the highway, the most common sign you're gonna see, the most common billboard you're gonna see.
Mm-hmm.
Have you been injured in a big rig wreck? And let's be
Oh
honest, like,
yeah.
Yeah.
but it's true.
Mm-hmm.
Every second one is one of those. We are
Mm-hmm.
an easy target,
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
and companies protect themselves, and the small man's left fighting for himself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Something that I've been using on this run that I do all the time. I bought a dash cam for about a good dash cam for about $100, and that has come in handy a couple of times when I've hit deer, and the insurance company's like, "Well, what happened?" Blah blah blah. Here's the video. Here's exactly what happened. I had nowhere to go. There was the deer ran out in front of me, tried to stop, etc. And it covered my butt several
Yep.
times. So like what you're talking about, Jay, with the billboards, we see it all the time, looking at social media and people posting things like, what on earth was that car thinking, pulling in front of the truck and then locking their brakes up, and they get rear-ended, and there you go, they got injured in a big rig accident, and they're going to call that guy on the billboard and get a payday. So if
Yep.
you've got just a simple investment in that dash cam can prove that nope.
Have to learn to protect yourself.
Yes. Yep. Exactly.
You
Exactly.
know, and even as a company driver, the liability that's on us as a company driver this day has grown greater and greater.
Mm-hmm.
Companies, hey, you need to do this online course.
Mm-hmm.
They make you sign in and do it because then they've got proof. Well, we train. You took this training course.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It eliminates their liability because
Yeah,
you should,
Yep.
if you didn't do exactly what was in that training course, then that can get shoved off onto you even as a company driver. That's true.
yeah.
Yep.
It's the trucking industry has definitely changed the last decade. I mean, you're seeing when I first come to Canada in 2003, I worked for one company. It was okay. And then I moved on. I had a disagreement with the second guy, and somebody said to me, "You should go and see this guy. You and him are very much the same.
Hmm.
You speak your mind how it is." And I remember I was, I'd spent $25,000. Here I am a year after being here. I'm about to call it quits.
Hmm.
And I sit at the table, and I look at the guy. Earl was his name, and I went, "I'll give you 110%. I'll look after the truck like it's my own. I work hard, and when I tell you I need time off, I need it. If you can't do that for me, I said, I might as well get up and just go out and get in my car right now.
Mm-hmm.
And he shook my hand, and uh, he became, I always refer to him as my Canadian father. We would run team together. We had a great mutual respect for each other. And he always said to me, Jay, what I love about you is you're straight to the point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I made good money there. Um, I learned how to keep that left door closed there. We were on paper logs.
Yep.
And I had the greatest time of my life. But here's a guy that 2 years ago, I thought I would never see him sell his trucking company.
Hmm.
He, typical old school trucker, phones me up one day. He goes, "You're never going to guess what I've done." And I went, "Oh, I don't know. Bought another truck because you're crazy." He had one of the Chrome Shop Mafia trucks.
Ooh. Ooh. Nice.
Yeah, that was a nice truck. That was a triple digit truck. I got to drive that. That was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he said to me, "I've sold the company." And I was like, "You've done what?" He goes, "I'm getting out." And I was like, "I'm proud of you." Because I expected to see him run that until the day he died.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But he knew when to get out.
But the thing is, you have a look now, the small trucking operation is a thing of the past. The trucking industry is run by the big 6 to 10, as far as I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And they're the ones that push all these stupid rules. I'm sorry, they do, because it makes them money. And the small mom and pop place is the same with the truck stops. Look at when I first come in 2003. Oh my God, there was an abundance of places to stop and enjoy yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You
No,
know,
not
get a
anymore.
good meal. Now there's nothing. You're left with Pilot Flying J, Loves, TA, Petra,
Mm-hmm.
and a few like larger chain companies that
Mm-hmm.
are their area specific only.
Yeah.
The the small companies are just being gobbled up all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. Was that your last point
Yep.
on your list there, Jay?
Yeah, that was my last point
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a really good one too. That was a really good last point.
Yep.
And I know Toby's talking about regulations. Toby's clock's sitting there ticking as we're just yakking away about this stuff. He's the only one of us that's not at home yet, but you're on your
Log me
way
in,
there.
Toby.
See the
I'm your
snow?
You. Mm-hmm.
Toby. I'm your team driver. Log me in, okay?
Tag, you're it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, those are the days. Toby, strong solo.
Right. Super. Well, we used to call it super solo.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Jay, thank you so much, and looking forward to seeing you when we get to the Trucker Jamboree.
Yep.
Everybody, come on out if you can get through Iowa, July 11th. What is it? 11th
12th and
through
13th.
12th. Yeah. If you can get out to Wolcott, Iowa, to the Iowa 80 truck stop, you can find all three of us, and we'll sit down. We will sit down, have a coffee, and yak like this with you all you want. That's going to be a lot of fun. It'd be good to meet both of you in person. That's going to be a lot of fun. That's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm excited about it. And hey, everybody, if you're gonna be at Matt's this year in Louisville, Kentucky, March 21st, 22nd, 23rd, I'll be floating around wearing a jersey, blue and gray jersey. On the back of it, it's going to say the 6 Million Mile Show.
Mm-hmm.
So don't be afraid to stop me and say hello.
Wonderful, wonderful. And Jay, again, thanks for this is your third appearance on the show. I hope that I know that it's not going to be the last. We appreciate all the time and your enthusiasm and your spirit and your willingness to share all this information with everybody. And we're really happy that you're taking part in the Million Mile Mentor program too. And there'll be, for everybody out there watching, there'll be a lot more to come about that here very, very soon. A lot of information, a lot of good stuff there. So I am your co-host, Crackerbox Jimmy, here on the 6 Million Mile Show. And Toby?
And I am your other co-host, Trucker Toby. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Drivers, thank you so much for taking the time to spend some time with us here on the 6 Million Mile Show. We appreciate it. Don't forget to like the show, comment, leave a comment for us because we want to hear your feedback. We want to do some polls on what you guys want to find out about next. And don't forget to ring the bell so that way you get a notification whenever we post new content. Again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for spending some time with us. For Crackerbox Jimmy, I'm Trucker Toby, and for Jay Taylor, we are officially 1010 on the side.
Thank you.